Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Reena and I warmly welcome you to my YouTube channel at the rate Mastering in English. So today we are going to learn English through a very beautiful and meaningful story that is called The Little Seed. In this video, we will not only enjoy the story but we will also learn which tense we used and why we used that tense, and how we can use linking words to make our English more clear and interesting. So stay with me until the end and let's learn English in a very easy and interesting way. Now let's begin with our beautiful story. Now first of all, let's understand which tense do we use. The main tense used in this story is the simple past tense. So, why do we use past tense here in this story? We use the simple past tense because the story tells us about the events that happened in the past and were completed. For example, lived. The seed lived near a forest. Carried. The wind carried the seed. Fell. The seed fell on the ground. Came. Anaya came there. Picked. She picked up the seed. Planted. She planted the seed. Watered. She watered the seed. Grew. The plant grew into a big tree. So, simple formula for telling the story is you have to use the subject, and after that you should use the second form of verb, and then you use object. For example, Anaya watered the seed. Here watered is the second form of the water, so it is in the simple past tense. Now come to the story part. The little seed. Once there was a tiny seed. It lived on the edge of a big forest. One day, a strong wind carried it far away and it fell on the dry, hard ground near a river. The seed was afraid. It thought, I'm so small, how can I grow here? The next day, the little girl named Anaya came there. She was sad to see no plants around. However, she did not ignore the little seed. She gently picked it up and said, I will help you grow. Then she dug a small hole, placed the seed in it, and covered it with soil. Anaya watered the seed every day. In addition to this, she talked to it and encouraged it by saying, grow strong and tall. One day you will give seed to many. After that, Anaya continued to take care of the seed every day. Days turned into weeks and little seed sprouted. However, growing was not easy. It faced the heat, rain, and the strong wind. In addition to this, the young plant had to survive on dry and hard ground. Nevertheless, it continued to grow. Slowly, it became a young plant, and I was very happy and continued to care for it. Moreover, she never stopped believing that the tiny plant would one day become a big tree. Years passed. The plant grew into a big tree and green leaves and strong branches. The tree became useful to many living beings. For instance, birds built their nest on its branches. Moreover, people rested in its cool shade. In addition to this, the tree made the place look beautiful and green. Therefore, the little seed was once afraid became a source of beauty, shelter, and happiness for many. Finally, the little seed had fulfilled its purpose. With a little care and love, it changed the place beautifully. So, now come to the moral of the story. The story teaches us that small beginnings can lead to great result. For instance, a tiny seed can become a huge tree if it receives proper care and time. Therefore, we should never think that our small efforts are useless. Moreover, with patience, care, love, and determination, even something very small can become something great. Now, I'm going to explain the linking words used in this story. So, first linking word that I used here, one day. So, why I use this linking word here? Because it show when something happened. For example, one day a strong wind carried it away. Second linking word that I used in this story is however. That means to show contrast. For example, however, she did not ignore the seed. Then third linking word that I used in this story is then, to show the next action. For example, then she dug a small hole. And fourth linking word that I used in this story is in addition to this, to add another idea. For example, in addition to this, she talked to it. Next linking word that I used here after that, which means to show the next event. For example, after that, Anaya continued to care for it. Next linking word that I used here, nevertheless, which means to show contrast despite difficulties. For example, nevertheless, it continued to grow. Next, we have moreover, which means to add an important point. Another linking word we have for instance, which means to give an example. Another linking words we used here, therefore, which means to show a result. And last linking word that I used in this story is finally, which means to show the last event. So, friends, linking words are very, very important because they help us to connect our ideas and sentences. For instance, then tells us what happened next, however, shows the contrast, and moreover, and in addition to this, help us add more information. Therefore, shows a result, and finally tells us about the last event. So, when we use these linking words, our English becomes more connected, clear, and fluent. So, friends, this was a very, very beautiful story of Little Seed. Through this story, we learned the simple past tense which we used to talk about completed events in the past. We also learned several linking words such as however, then, in addition to this, moreover, for instance, therefore, and finally. I hope this story helped you to improve your English in a simple and interesting way. And always remember this thing, a small beginning can lead to a great result. If you enjoyed this lesson, please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel at the rate Mastering in English. So keep learning, keep practicing, and keep growing, just like the little seed. So thank you for watching this video. See you in the next video. Bye bye. Keep learning and keep growing.